Hey everyone. Yeah, I've got about 7 minutes or so before I have to head back to work. And yes, it's about 104, 105 right now, but this is the only opportunity I have during my lunch to do this live. And just a little mention to any young punks out there, any young teenagers, adolescents that have nothing better to do. I know you're the ones doing these trolling comments. I'm going to ask you nicely. Stop it. Because if I don't do something, somebody else will. And it'll probably be YouTube or Google that gets on you for what you're doing. So please, I'm asking you. I know you have nothing else to do right now. Don't do it. And if you're my nephew and you know who you are, go back to playing your video games. Now, like I said, I've got about 6 minutes to go here, but I wanted to get this, kind of put a couple of cents in there about the controversy surrounding the finish of the first ever women's Money in the Bank matchup. Let me put it to you like this. The women definitely made history in this match. Now, I hear what I think Lee Wilson, or Lee Sanders of RCWR says when he pretty much feels that this is a slap in the face to the whole thing of WWE being behind the women's revolution. I can understand him feeling that way, because why would you build this up only to have it finish the way it did? It doesn't make sense. Now, a lot of people have actually said that they like this situation, but now there are some from the Lexman, Brian Zane, and OTR Central that like the whole situation. They like the storyline. They like what we're seeing here. They like the storyline aspect of the whole thing, because basically, as JBL pointed out, there was no disqualification, and that's basically the loophole that Ellsworth and Carmella could use to say, hey, look, yeah, that you could have Carmella and Ellsworth agree, yeah, what Ellsworth did was wrong, but there's nothing saying he had to go up. There's nothing in the stipulations or in the rules of the match to say he couldn't go up there and unhook it. So you could have Carmella point out that the only rule was whoever was the first woman to get it is the winner. You can have them throw that loophole out. Now, there's several ways that they could resolve this come Tuesday. One way I think they'll probably do, just to get attention onto the show, is not next week, but maybe on the 4th of July edition of SmackDown, they could have the first ever Money in the Bank ladder rematch. In this case, it's a rematch of the historic first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match. And they could throw in the stipulation that Ellsworth is banned from ringside, if not banned from the building. He's gone. But if WWE still wants to go with Carmella, then there's a way for them to do that. And the way they could do that is by having all the women beat the crap out of Carmella at the beginning as payback for what her and Ellsworth did, and then have them focus on each other. And then as you get to the climax of the match, you have Carmella start to come to. The other women don't notice, and Carmella takes advantage of them not noticing she's coming to. she tips over the ladder or pushes the ladder over, knocking down whatever two women on the top towards the end of the match. She gets the ladder, props it back up, and quickly climbs up the ladder, unhooks the briefcase, and then officially and rightfully and justifully becomes Miss Money in the Bank. It would work. It can work. It would actually be. It could work, because if you're going to still go with Carmella, this would be the way to do it. You could have her officially in the rematch on the 4th of July edition of SmackDown Live become Miss Money in the Bank by taking advantage of a situation. Now, if you don't want to go in that direction, another way they could do it is the loophole situation. You could have them come out on SmackDown Live with a lawyer. You could have the lawyer representing them agree with Shane and Daniel, saying that what James did was wrong and it was unjustified. However, you could have him turn it around on Daniel and Shane as well, and say, however, according to the rules of the match, there was no disqualification. And there was nothing that stated that James couldn't go up there and unhook the briefcase for Carmella. He didn't break any rules. He didn't break any laws, if you will, because the loophole behind this is there's no disqualification. Now, you can have Shane and Daniel counter this by saying, however, there is a stipulation. However, there is a rule. And the rule is only the first woman has to unhook the briefcase, not the first man. So you can have them do that. And that could work as well. You can even have them bring that up if they decide to go in the direction of a Money in the Bank ladder rematch 2 weeks later on the 4th of July edition of SmackDown. You can have them bring up, that stipulation. So, to me, I look at it like I say, them going two ways. I can see them having a rematch resulting in Shane and Daniel stripping Carmella of the briefcase, and thus in the rematch have to force her to have to re-earn it the right way, which she would do by taking advantage of a situation. You would have her do that, and then on top of that, you could also go the other direction, like I said, with the lawyer. Have the lawyer point out that yes, what happened was wrong, but throw in the loophole that there's no disqualification. So what James did may have been wrong, but in a sense, he really didn't break any rules. So you can have it go either way, in my opinion. But my thought process is this. Whatever happens, WWE did a good job. The SmackDown creative team did a good job in getting people to tune in this Tuesday to see what will occur. Because like I said, they can go either one or two ways. They could go the way of a rematch, or they can go the way of keeping it on Carmella and having the loophole be presented to them as saying, hey, yeah, what James did was wrong, but he really didn't break any rules. So my thoughts are they're either going to go Money in the Bank ladder rematch direction, where she'll win it officially and justifully the right way, or they'll keep it on her and have maybe a lawyer present the fact that, hey, she didn't really break any rules. So that's all I'm going to say on that. I got to get back to work. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I am out.